Okay, greetings, beautiful people present, hopefully at the Wits Writing Festival 2024 edition. This is my attempt at making my presence because today I'm leaving Johannesburg, so I will not be present in person. I'm there in spirit. My name is Ramwatu Khasani. I am the lecturer in fine art, and amongst many other things that I do, I coordinate and teach and co-teach a course called Drawing and Contemporary Practice. It is a third-year course, and over the years I've sort of developed a kind of framing for it, which we call publishing, collective self-publishing and book arts. And alongside that, framing, it is also to think with the work by the Midu Art Ensemble, particularly the posters as well as the newsletters, but also critically the editorial processes. I would like to now give you how I personally have arrived in this type of practice and how that practice itself becomes present in the classroom, in the thinking and making with a group of students whose work you hopefully are enjoying and encountering at the Wits Writing Festival. Cool. Look, I just brought quite a very small collection of material that I think could help put into perspective my own journey, as I said, into the world of collective self-publishing and how that also links to the work that students are doing, have been doing, when working with me. In front of me is a publication called CCTV, a zine for local ideas in global practice. This is a 2012 work that I and colleagues put together. It was an interesting process because this was, at first, we thought we are making a catalog for a group exhibition that was taking place at a space called King Kong. And this space is where the institution that I've co-founded, Keliketla Library, has subsequently moved into. But we thought about a catalog of this work, but immediately thought, how can we actually make a catalog that also invites participation of other people? So outside of the artist at this particular show, we reached out to other people to come and share space in our pages in Johannesburg in 2012. But we also thought carefully about cost of making publication, particularly print. So we reached out to institutions and people like Chimuranga's Pan-African Space Station to buy advertising space, but really ask them to think about advertising as content, So here they were writing about Theo Parish at the Pan-African Space Station, Carl Shepard at the Pan-African Space Station Festival. We reached out to Provesia, we reached out to Stevenson, who then had a project called Makwa Penny, which was a side project. So yeah, we asked people to contribute in ways that for us were quite unexpected. But perhaps people can see that the method of making aesthetically is a throwback to middle art ensemble. So here we have several editions. These are actually digitally printed from the PDFs in our care, that is Gelegetla's care, and therefore the publication was following similar principle of access and sort of what we could afford in terms of spending, but also thinking about collective sort of mapping of thinking, of writing, of making in Johannesburg. So that's 2012. That was sort of our first publication, and this was way before thinking about zine making in relation to the Rhizo. So, for example, here we used silkscreen covers and litho printing, which was almost similar to Midu, except they did not print the body with litho. Fast forward to 2015, I'm teaching this course, the one that I'm still teaching. So for term 1 of the year 2015, I challenge students to think with a monument that is up the road on Jorison Street. It's a miners monument opposite the City of Joburg offices. I don't remember what came first, but it doesn't matter. It just means that there was a vibe in 2015 about monuments and what they mean. So Rose Must Fall happens. So basically we're just making weekly trips. Every Friday we will go to the monument and just look at it and think as artists. But alongside that, we were reading Because I Write What I Like. We were reading Ngugi wa Thiong'o's Enactments of Power, Pen Points, Gun Points and Dreams, towards a critical theory of the arts and the state in Africa, as well as another one of Ngugi wa Thiong'o's The Quest for Relevance in Decolonizing the Mind, the Politics of Language in African Literature. So these were weekly readings alongside weekly visits to a museum, a monument. And what will happen is that the students will be tasked at raising critical questions at these texts, right? So raising questions back at the text that they are reading. So if you come closer, you will see the thinking and writing process. And then we will also invite people to come and speak with the students. So we had Breezy Ogo, Nolan Oswald Dennis, and Milisutantu Bongela, who ended up being thanked by this group of students. But I totally did not expect that when we went into second term, the students would decide to make a book. But that is because of the amount of critical texts and questions that they raised back at the text that they were reading, that they felt like a book would be the most sensible thing alongside the performances that they were tasked with. So they came up with this book of questions. The book is called Unthinkable, A Call to Come Together. So this was for their June exam. They asked, what is an African? What is contemporary African literature? How can we change the narrative or view of the African in European literature? How do we integrate African languages, literature, culture without excluding anyone or making them feel left out in institutional systems? How will we put Africa in the center of things when the world has been centered on Europe and still is? And on and on and on, the questions just keep coming and coming. I will make this book also available tomorrow as part of the library, these middle ones, so that people can have an idea. But 2015, when the students, by their own accord, decided that this is an exam work, and it's an exam work of all of them. So they challenged the examination process and everybody else. In other words, there was a proposal that a certain percentage of those marks go to the book as a collective mark, and the other percentage would be for the individual and collective performances. And I remember that it made the work of examiners very difficult, but the students were victorious in what they did. And that's when I started thinking, it's about time we get a RISO, because we have the archive of MEDU for students to study MEDU's practices and editorial processes and raise their own editorial questions of today while learning how to publish collectively and think about their historical trajectory. And I remain humbled every year. Every year I am amazed at the standards. And lastly, I just want to show you this work here. This work is a letter to the Israeli military aggression and occupation to say to them that Aluta continua, free Palestine, ceasefire now. And this letter is a remix of a poster by Medu Art Ensemble. So that is the Medu Art Ensemble work, and then this is the remix into Medu Art Ensemble. And I'm sure that for all you present there at the festival, you can see how this group of students also made similar posters remixing Medu and talking to current issues, politically, socially, spiritually. I hope this helps give context about where this course is coming from, where it's going, and it gives me great pleasure that somebody, Tsapo Matlingos actually, wrote on Facebook that the teacher's job is done when the students are the teachers. So yeah, I will leave it at that, and thank you very much. So students, take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eva. I'm part of the fourth year Fine Art Group. And today we're here on behalf of Umshini, which is a collective that we founded as part of RA's third year course in drawing and contemporary practice. As part of this course, we created and worked through a series of posters and publications. We have a little bookstore at the back, so hopefully you can look through some of the publications after the talk. But today I'm going to start by just reading through our manifesto for the group. So Mshini is a group of fine art students who came together in creative response to the ongoing student protests that arise at the start of each academic year. Working closely with the Medu Art Ensemble historical archive of posters, publications, and music as a point of departure, we developed a series of posters as a call to movement and gathering, using Riso printing, a fast and often cost-effective way to print and distribute large quantities of work. This series of posters moved us into 8 different collectives, namely Paper Jam, Move, Hoops, Petsuo, Outcast, It's Weird, TSC, and T's and C's. As part of the third year Drawing and Contemporary Practice course in 2023, facilitated and guided by Rangwatu Khasane, the collectives developed 8 unique publications that explored collaborative ways of working. The collectives were formed through a seeking of connection, bonding over nostalgia, and looking towards the future. Stretching, pulling, looking through motifs of play, connotations of fire, questioning peace and freedom in our current temporality as young artists, a moving through memory. This allowed for the realization of each of these publications. We ask, what does change look like in 2024? What has change looked like in the past decade? Does the struggle continue? This collection of publications functions as a multitude of communication systems, drawing from a past that is present, as well as a means to project ourselves into the future. We look at music, artistic practice, forms of childhood play as a questioning, a response, a space for potential, and as a means for transportation. How do we move through and respond to these memories? How does collaboration gesture towards a recreation? Why now? If not now, then when? For whom? Anyone who is called to move. This is a movement, a listening, a reading, a gathering, a celebration, a projection, and a prayer.
Okay. Hi guys. My name is Alex. I am part of New Work 24. But also more specifically, I'm a part of the collective Paper Jam. So this piece is not necessarily about Paper Jam. It's also about the Rhizo, and like as Eva said, that's where we print all of our publications on, and it's a very tactile experience working with the Rhizo. So this is a bit of a love letter to the Rhizo. I did not write it. Alexandra Geen, not to be confused with me, but she wrote it and she's part of Paper Jam, but unfortunately she could not be here today. So yeah. Rhizo wakes up from her slumber. With an instant, her blue eye projects into the dark abyss of room 011. For a moment, there is a calm, dark stillness. In a haze of nothingness, it's only this gleaming eye of hers that exists. Suddenly, her machine begins to whir. The fullness of her insides is like a violent chaos in this once silent room. She is hungry. Her insides are rumbling. They are in a fervent search for paper, like a predator hunting its prey. She catches paper, and from her mechanical mouth, she drools purple, orange, red ink. Beep, beep. What's this? Error. She's in pain. Her cries now consume the room. She's coughing, gasping for air. Mayday, mayday. Something is wrong. To her own rescue, she coughs one final hearty splutter, and with it comes out this fascinating object, ink arranged to form a foreign text like a vomit of melancholy and celebration on her dinner of paper. Rhizo gasps an air of relief. A final beep exits from her mechanical lips. This is the story of the miraculous birth of the beautiful baby she names Paper Jam.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lavender, and I am part of the editorial team for New York 24. So we are going to take you through a couple of publications, and I will briefly explain what they're about, and I'll read some extracts from them. So the first publication is from Hoops, and Hoops is a community, a sisterhood that prides itself on black girl magic. They use the experiences of nostalgia through igusha. Igusha is a stocking. It can also be a wig cap, and it can also be a stretchy material used to play games. And I'm going to read something that they wrote in their publication. Ligusha. Woza, ubophe. Mpo shouts at me as I walk over to the soft green patch of grass they've chosen to sit on today. It's second break, which means magusha time. I quickly find a spot to sit on the grass next to Mpo and help them tie the stretchy fabric of the gusha. At least I made sure to wear e-short underneath my school skirt. First, Kanisa screams as she approaches us, making sure we know who's jumping first. Second, me and Mpo both scream at the same time. I'll let them go second, Shem. They brought the gusha anyways. From afar, I see Kat and Samu walking from the tuck shop. They both going to have to fall for magusha. Mpo and I try finish the short magusha strings together, then start to stretch out the magusha rope to see how long we've made it. Hadikale, Kat says, when she sees the magusha is long enough and ready for us to play with. Samu and Kat take the fabric for Mpo and I start to get in the position so the game can start. They spread out in opposite ends from each other and bring the stretchy rope down to their knees. We play the game for the rest of the break while having our lunch and gossiping, as always. A few other girls join us in our game, and we end up making new friends. So Ligusha is basically a material, as they say, but a material used to play games, that games in the townships. And Hoops uses this also just to show us about the diversity of Black womanhood. And this is what their publication is about. So this is also just a way for you guys to know what each publication talks about, and you can also have a look at them. And then the second publication is from a collective called Petoho. Petoho is a Sotho word which means change. And they use the concept of fire as a duality, that we can use fire to bring life and we can also use fire to destroy. That this very fire is in us and it's also in our hands. And that this very fire can be used as a revolution. And what I want to read says, the heart of justice is telling, seeing ourselves and the world the way we want it to be, more than ever before. As a society, we need a renew and commitment to truth-telling. The light of love is always in us, always present, waiting to ignite. So the question that I have for you guys that I would like for you to hold on to is, what ignites your fire and who sets your fire? And then, this is from a collective called Move. It's a 4-member collective, and they explore South African musical archives in relation to soundscapes and connecting the past and the present. And they spent a lot of time at the Library of the Things We Forgot to Remember in Auckland Park, which is a library of South African musical archives and vinyls, and connecting the past and the present in relation to nostalgia, because vinyl is something that our generation is not familiar with, also in relation to where we come from. So also talking about memory, the past and the present, and what that means for us as a generation and as a collective occupying space in society. So this is Move. And this is their vinyl publication, and they have a couple of questions for you guys. So listen. Kwenzenjani? Where has the movement led us? What are we moving towards? What is your frequency? How loud is your intent? What do you remember? What do you hear? Who said what? Who sang what? Who played the music to move to? Who do you move for? What is your favorite sound? How does music move you? What would you like to hear? So, what moves you? This is Move. And then, last but not least, from my side, this is Paper Jam. And this is their publication called A Bible. They call it a Bible. And Paper Jam is their own community based on humor. They share inside jokes that no one else would understand but themselves. They are that friend that you need. And I'm going to read from their 10 commandments. 1, don't pick up the phone. You know he's only calling you because he's drunk and alone. Commandment number 2, don't let him in, you'll have to kick him out again. So this is Paper Jam, and this is their Bible. So when you do have time after this, please just go to the bookstore and just browse through everything. This is just a way to excite you and to invite you and to lure you into having a look at these publications. Thank you.
Hello, nice to see some of you again. I'm Noku, if you don't know me from earlier, and I'm going to take you through a few of my favorite publications. So first we'll start with T's and C's, terms and conditions, and basically what they focus around on is care, and especially collective care within spaces, and how as artists can we care for each other, care for ourselves, especially in the ways we create can kind of excavate certain traumas. So we need to take care of ourselves and of each other, especially when we're in a collective-based working environment. We need to look out for each other, otherwise the foundations of creativity may fall apart. And the place I would like to read from is an interview they did. Part of their publishing action is that they went around asking people how they feel censorship. Actually, the special edition of this publication came with a certain mat that you would roll out for when you're reading this publication. So you're in this space to receive the information that is here. For example, sorry, this is one of my favorite photographs that I'd like to share with you. They kind of encourage community-based, kind of encourage community-based viewing, and this map would facilitate seating for more than 2 people. So in this interview, they asked things like, do you feel like a shared art studio space is a supportive and caring environment? Do you feel like your needs and concerns are heard, addressed in your shared studio space? What changes would you like to see in your studio to improve the level of care? Do you feel like your studio space promotes a sense of community and belonging? If yes, please share how you feel about that. What would make you feel more supported and cared for in your shared studio space? And personally, this publication has had an impact on us in how we view studio practices. Before it was kind of a place where, oh, just work and move. But in their publishing action, they make it clear that the spaces you work with aren't just places for creativity, they're a place for you to foster yourself as well. And then the second publication, TSC's, not to be confused, this is The Struggle Continues. And I would like to read from their manifesto, because it is quite specific to their sensitive publishing action. We, as TSC, have been thinking around the ideas of freedom, peace, and the impact that capitalism has on the concepts of freedom and peace. We have been exploring questions of whether freedom, peace are feasible in the current economy, taking into consideration the country's history of apartheid and its impact on peace and freedom. We are questioning whether the struggle still continues. If so, how? How have the struggles of the past continued into our present, possibly our future? What does the struggle look like? We aim to ask questions that make the viewer think about their history and struggle and how they come to the present. So the way their publication works is they used bank statements. Each folder has a different color to each bank statement. So each publication doesn't have the same thing. So one will have like this particular one has financial investment, one will have credit, and so on. And within each action, each collective member kind of created their own card, and within each card they have their own, each member's own artistic work. I'll give you another example. So this is Red, which is a different publishing action to this one, and they also have different contents inside. And yeah, you can check it out at the bookstore.
Hello everyone, my name is Saki. I'm also a part of the 4th year New Work 24. Unfortunately, the two collectors I'll be talking about, their publications have run out of stock. though I'm about to tell you about the two collectives, Outcast and It's Weird. So both of these collectives have like a common shared consciousness in that they celebrate individualism through their own artist practice. It's Weird celebrates their individualism through what is lost during the art practice to make the kind of art that they make. And with Outcast, Outcast was made from members who unfortunately didn't agree with the groups that they were in before. So it's Outcast. And they also practiced, well, their collective practice involved their own individual practices. And those individual practices were based on themes such as identity, intersectionality, art collection, and mental health. And they ended up having to make like interviews and like quite personal interviews and posters and asking people on a more personal level about their individualism. So I feel like the question that I have gained from both of these individual concepted, I don't know if I'm saying that right, concepted collectives is that through what you have lost, how do you celebrate the individual you are today? Questions on this question? Back there, that question.
I don't have a question.
So, anything, the floor is now the public's and what you'd like to converse about.
I have a question for you guys. My first question is, based on the first publication that I showed you, which speaks about community, I would like to ask you, what does community look like? What is community to you, and what does community look like for you? And also, what moves you, and who do you move for in relation to community?
I want to answer that in a sideways way. Don't want to speak about my own community because I've spoken enough today. But I think that one of the things that I find really powerful about all these practices is the idea of publication as gathering point. That what do we come together around, and all the communities I've been with, that idea of having something, a text or something you're creating together as a way of gathering, I think is the way that for me has developed friendships. And so I think that there's something really interesting in your practice. And I guess to ask a question out of that back at you guys would be, what role do you guys see the publication as playing within that, and what does it allow to facilitate that might not have been possible if you were just hanging out, let's say?
They're looking at me, so I'll answer. So I'm in Paper Jam. I think your description of us was very apt, that we are like a gathering space. So with us, we are friends, so we do have that gathering space, and then we publish. I think the difference is that like certain groups have group dynamics, but within publication there's a kind of gel that you learn. Not only do we learn individual strengths, but you learn how to work with each other. And with humor, like something I learned from working within like a humor publication is that levity doesn't have to be a response to something. Something can just be inherently funny. And I learned that through other people. So something that I learned through working with my friends versus just hanging out with my friends is that certain, I can't find the word for it, certain qualities or skills that you wouldn't find just chilling and talking. So work ethic, I know Alex keeps a tight schedule. Me, I don't believe in the concept of time. I believe I come up with the sun down, but I learned time management like matters within each specific thing you do. From Zinhle, I learned that levity is not a response. From Boy2, I learned mastering your equipment makes things run smoothly. But then when we're hanging out, I'm not looking for things. to kind of exchange. It's just an equal kind of, yeah.
I have a question for you guys. So I saw you 2 times now, or the second time. The first time at Javed, where you presented, and that was really in depth. And I really appreciate one thing, that you are so different from each other, like the publication. And I always thought like, wow, going through those different zines and forms, and how you deal with text, the material, and print, the Riso print. So if anyone who doesn't know Riso, it is a Japanese printing company, and they are based on stencil, and it is an ink drum, so it's a full ink. And it is actually like a silk screen. It's super eco-friendly, because you only have a stencil to reproduce one color and then the second color. So usually you do 2 colors or 3 colors. It has this kind of post-digital look, and differently from the Xerox machines that you have here all over the campus, they eat electricity, they chow plastic, they create garbage, and so Riso is really a very haptic experience. So please also go and look at it. But I want to ask something different. How did you go about writing? Your pieces are very personal, but also that they are collective. Just give us an idea in your class, because you were 3rd years and you're working towards 4th year, right? How did the writing go?
To answer that, to start off, we were given like a large selection of posters and images, and it was a kind of, okay, whoever picked something that interested them and had the same as someone else, that's how like the first like formation of the collectives were formed. And then we start talking about like the common interest, and how you know what interested us about the posters and images we chose, and then we started writing on that and tried linking that to the kinds of things we were dealing with throughout the year and our own personal experiences, because I feel as, you know, as artists, by default we are going to put what's inside our chests on the paper or on the canvas. So yeah, we just went about learning each other as individuals and coming together collectively through, like, at first what was like a common interest, and like just really expanding on that. So
I'm going to speak on behalf of the collective I was part of, and we worked with the Medu Music Archive. So we went and we looked at different albums and songs that we used as like a call of gathering and connection, and also like a way to spread a message during apartheid and during the times of like resistance to apartheid. And I think the writing, or our writing in particular, was so heavily influenced by the actual like lyrics of the song, seeing how we could like play with lyrics, seeing how we could like rewrite and remix lyrics to conceal certain things, to highlight certain things. But then I think as well, like looking at the actual physical vinyl and the physical music poster, because we all came together over like a series of jazz posters. But we looked at the writing of the vinyl, so looking at like clever ways that titles were written, or sort of the text that existed inside the vinyl, on the back of the vinyl. And I think we used that as like a starting point to guide the writing of our publication.
So for Paper Jam, which I can speak through, we kind of took our hangouts into the publication humorously. So we'd be at McDonald's, and you know that beeping sound, especially the Pugtown one, and we'd be like, I am in hell, make this stop. Or like someone spilled wine on their pants, and we're like, if you don't change that, butt ants are gonna crawl up your butt. And then we made those into the 7 layers of hell. And we have like differing layers of hell, and also maybe help to have, or also we would be listening to music, and then we'd be like, you know what guys, the thong song kind of slaps, this is hilarious. and we put it in as one of our hymns, or some of we once had like a little sleepover, and someone's phone recorded the entire thing. So then we transcribed the entire thing and put it in here. Or we had like a little reading session where we're reading Trevor Noah and then his tweets, and we're like, this is our prophet, this is our Messiah, let's put him in the Bible. So that's how our publication came to be. I know with T's and C's, one of our prompts within the course was to respond to Fees form. So the struggle continues. His response was to look at the capitalistic side of it, and terms and conditions response was to look at how can we then help ourselves and help each other in response of such tough times, because a lot, I think, was like coming through the surface, like the world is rough, so they were like, how do we make it less rough? Yeah.
Just on that note, the proceeds from the sale will go
To New Act 24.
So New Act 24 is an exhibition that will be at TPO, which day?
At the Wits Art Museum.
At the Wits Art Museum, sorry.
So the funds from there will go towards publication for New Work, which is the culmination of their grad year. So at the end of the year we have an exhibition at the Wits Art Museum, which comprises of the entire 40 body of artists, their work that will be shown here. And then the publication this year is being rethought in the ways that they've been thinking about these publications as a kind of record or response to the year. So it's an ongoing, the project of New York is an ongoing fundraising project that takes place throughout the year, and the money raised goes towards the exhibition and the final publication. And then any money raised at the end of the year goes towards next year's exhibition.
So think twice if you spend the next 100 rand on a bottle of wine or on a zine and support the students' next publication. Any other questions? Comments? Answers to the question, what moves you?
I think people are tired.
Everyone's tired.
I want to look and touch.
Please have a look at the zine. Talk to the artists. Thank you so much for coming. So we have half an hour break for tea and zines, and after that we will continue at the Humanities Grad Center in the seminar room.